Masters Radio presents Music History, Episode 2, Gojira.
What's up? This is Mario.
And Joe from Gojira, and you're getting your fix of metal injection.
Gojira is a French heavy metal band from Angers, France, but it was founded as Godzilla in 1996. It was founded by two brothers, Joe and Mario Duplantier. When Joe was 17, he formed his first band with some friends called Eclipse after he discovered heavy metal 3 years earlier. While getting inspiration from his brother Mario started a band at the age of 12 and was already displaying some amazing capabilities. Over time, they played jam sessions after school. Then finally, in 1996, when Joe was 19 and Mario 14, they decided to start a technical death metal band emphasizing melodies. They recruited 19-year-old guitarist Christian Andreu. Mario said Andreu was a passionate fan of Metallica just like us. They started practicing in Mario and Joe's garage where they set up a studio. They soon after recruited bassist Alexandre Cornelian, a friend of Andreu from Hossegor. Joe said, "We wanted to go fast and strong. We had no plan, no pressure. We didn't even have a band name." Before the end of '96, the band settled on the name Godzilla. The idea came from the original kaiju film Godzilla and the myth of the big, furious atomic lizard. They said that it was in their head that they need a symbol of devastating power. Godzilla self-released a pair of demo albums, Victim in 1996, then Possessed in 1997, and started touring southwest of France. Cornelian left the band in 1998 and was replaced by Jean-Michel Labadie. Jean was a very active young bass player on the Basque scene, according to Marie-Helene Sunan. Godzilla would go to win Tremplin Ultrasons, which is Ultrasound Springboard, a regional festival for emerging artists in early 1999. They started to tour regularly and open up for bands like Cannibal Corpse, Edge of Sanity, and Impaled Nazarene. By the end of '99, Godzilla supported Immortal during a 10-date tour. While touring with Immortal, Godzilla started to receive even more national exposure. They started to develop a reputation for incendiary riffs on the French metal scene, which led the band to record their third and fourth albums, Saturate and Wisdom Comes, in '99 through 2000. What people didn't know is that the band had been planning their first full-length album, a project they've planned since the beginning in '96, so by 2000 they were ready to start writing. By 2001, they were legally compelled to change their name, so Godzilla became Gojira, the Romaji spelling of the original name Godzilla. They were inspired by the production quality of an album they heard from a Parisian metal band. Gojira moved to the same Brussels studio to record their debut album, Terra Incognito. Although it took them longer to write the album than they expected, they were able to record in 10 days, while being able to accomplish so much on the scene. They still had no label, recording company, or manager. Labels called them too ambitious for their style of music. Labels advised them to abandon death metal and sing in French. Joe said, "The door was clearly closed. The band realized their way out was to consider an independent infrastructure. So they established Gabriel Editions as a limited liability company. Andreu said they could now manage the band's activities and finances ourselves." They released Terra Incognito, their debut studio album, on Gabriel Editions in March of 2001. The album made significant waves, according to John Buchanan of AllMusic. They got 1,500 albums and persuaded a small store in Bayonne to sell them. They soon after signed a contract with Sphere Management, and Richard Gamba became their manager. The band then went on a nationwide tour to promote their recent album, sharing the stage with big names like Scarve, Hurts in Silence, and No Flag. Later, Gojira signed with the independent Boycott Records, next music for national distribution. Gojira's second album took a year. Mario said about his approach to the album, "It was a period during which I wanted to play fast. I was starting to master the grind parts and the double bass pedal properly. The songs were also conceived without delay on the vocals or reverb." And Joe called it all very raw and very honest. And in April of 2003, The Link was released, and it doesn't stop there. Things kept getting better and better for these talented artists. They had even performed at Metropolitan France, which includes Belgium, Switzerland, and Bilbao. Next, the release of their concert DVD called The Link Alive in April of 2004, from a sold-out 2003 tour concert in Bordeaux to taking 7 months for the next album themes. Joe was influenced by the possibility of other dimensions. He devoted his time to reading the Celestine Prophecy and books by Spalding and other spiritual leaders. Soon after, in April of 2005, Gojira's released From Mars to Sirius. They even had an article from journalist Lucy Williams in the Kerrang! About the album. The article even increased exposure in the British metal press that Gojira was asked to replace Mastodon in England's 2006 Download Festival. Joe said it was a decisive concert. In March of 2007, Listenable Records revised the link with remastered audio and new booklet artwork in North America, followed by the link a live DVD in the US. They started writing their fourth studio album. Joe stated the album will be more intense, more brutal, and more melodic than its predecessor. After 4 months of writing in the late March of 2008 and recording from April to June, they released The Way of the Flesh on October 13th of 2008 in Europe and in North America the next day. Another iconic thing that happened during the 2-month period of the release of their album Gojira performed for Vacuity Live for the first time at Rock en France Festival as the opening act for Metallica. But shortly after the release of the album, they went on tour to promote the album.
Some reviews and something that you had to say about the album was that it's basically about death and destruction. Are these your personal fears or more of an observation about what's going on?
It's both, mostly my own fear of my own death. That's the first thing that came to my mind, but I can't help myself. I always put different levels, in the music, and that's, I think, what's interesting with, poetry or lyrics or music in general. It's that you can see a deeper meaning in each thing. So yes, it's also about, the fact that we're killing everything,
right.
Basically.
Around 2011, while writing their fifth album, their contract with Prosthetic Records expired. But not much later, they were signed with Roadrunner Records on November 9th of 2011. With this new recording contract, the band entered Spin Studio in New York City to record the next album on June 26th of 2012. L'Efant Sausage, which was co-produced by Josh Wilbur and Joe Duplantier, was released and charted for 10 to 14 weeks. Their next album, Magma, was released on June 17th, 2016. It was a big hit not only in France, Switzerland, Norway, but also in the US, and so many other countries, and shortly after they started a world tour. After 5 years, they released their latest album, Fortitude. It was called 2021's most heavily anticipated metal releases. After so many amazing years of writing, concerts, and so much more, they had to end up cutting their tour because of COVID, and they have slowed down on how much they tour. But after so many years and so many big accomplishments, Gojira was offered to be in the opening ceremony of the Olympics, making history as one of the very first heavy metal bands to perform at the Olympics. But before we end this video, we can't talk about this amazing band without talking about their amazing activism, with most of all, environmental activism being number one. Joe has even stated that if he wasn't a musician, he would be an environmental activist with Greenpeace or the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society.
You discuss in your music like nature and a certain spirituality. These are not usually topics that are typical for the metal genre. Have you received any negative criticism from the metal community because of the things that you care about and that you stand for?
No, well, some would say that we're hippies, for example, which is not true, I think, because we don't do drugs, for example. So I would say that it's really something natural to us to talk about nature, especially because we consider that we are nature, So using that word nature is just one way to describe talking about life in general, and it's an illusion to think that we are separated from nature. We are nature. Even this microphone is nature.
Plant. The microphone is a plant. How would you encourage your listeners to be more considerate towards the environment? What are your 2 cents for keeping it green?
I would say that we live in a very small on a very small ball, a planet. It's very small, actually. When you think about it, it's really like a small spaceship, and we are all stuck together in this little ball, and we are traveling very fast in never-ending space. So that's something I like to think about, because it reminds me that we have nowhere else to go, and we should really take care of that for the future generations. And well, that's one thing I could say.
It's even done concerts where all proceeds were donated to associations and organizations. Joe cited specifically the fight against HIV, AIDS, and Greenpeace. That is only the scratch of the surface on what this band has done to help. To see more music and activism this amazing band has done, look down in the description for the links. If you like this episode, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. This concludes episode 2 of Masters Radio Music History.
The trees, the foes, our kings, tearing up, destroying all the trees.